UFC Fight Night 168 on ESPN Plus 26 Auckland. Felder versus Hooker took place last night and it was an amazing card while it lasted. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event that was apparently controversial, giving my reaction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with Priscilla versus Shana Dobson. You were 0-3 before this fight. I was saying you should be cut already. However, because of the beating that she took by Mario Yamasaki, because let's be real, it was Yamasaki that gave her the beating. It wasn't Shevchenko. I thought, you know what, give her one more chance. She came back in. She got a KO in the first round. Women's flyweight division, KO in the first round. You can stick around, if I'm honest with you. Like, that's cool with me. You're KOing girls in the first round. Let's see more of this. You know what I mean? Priscilla Cacuera, good job. She's 9-3. Let's see if she can get to 10-3 with another win. Good win by Priscilla Cacuera. Shana Dobson was 3-3. Never deserved to be in the UFC in the first place. Now she's 3-4. 100% cut her from the UFC. Goodbye. Lima Lookboom versus Angela Hill. Lima Lookboom, 4-1 coming into this one. A Muay Thai specialist training at City Kickboxing. One of the only people from City Kickboxing on the card to actually lose tonight as well. Angela Hill stood up with her for 3 rounds. Did not see this coming whatsoever. In fact, Lima Lookboom was the one who got the cleanest takedown of the fight, which I have never understood. And this is one of them things about women's MMA. Angela Hill has all the experience in MMA. All the experience in grappling. Years and years and years and years of experience. She has the size. She has the athleticism. Can't take Lima Lookboom down. Why? I don't get it. I really don't understand. Like, Lima Lookboom's a Muay Thai specialist. Started picking up grappling a couple of years ago. Angela Hill, you're 12-7. That's very experienced for a female fighter. You're stronger. You're faster. You're more powerful. I don't get it. You're larger. Whatever, I guess. She got the win. Good job. I wasn't impressed whatsoever. It was a close fight. Could have arguably gone either way. It went to Angela Hill. Good job. She got it done. Don't know who I want to see her fight next. Maybe if Claudia Gadelha beats Marina Rodriguez, we can do an Angela Hill versus Claudia Gadelha matchup at strawweight. Who knows? Let's hope. Moving on. Kara France versus Tyson Nam. I thought Kara France was going to have a much easier job. I think people said it was a close fight. I don't believe it was a close fight. I really don't. Tyson Nam was landing the bigger shots, but what people weren't quite paying attention to was the fact that every time Tyson Nam landed a big shot, it was followed up with, or pre-answered, by Kara France landing a 3-punch combination. Volume over significance, I guess they went with for Kara France. I understand the decision. I thought the rounds were close, but the rounds did go to Kara France. It's a weird one, to be honest with you, because you say close fight, but it was 30-27, you know, or 29-28, whatever the score ended up being. But every round was so close. But Kara France, I feel like, just edged out the numbers of the striking game every single round. And listen, neither of them scored a single takedown in the fight. There was no real grappling going on unless they were against the cage in the clinch. Kara France landed more every single round. I think he wins. Good job. Kara France got the job done over Tyson Nam. It should have been way easier, but one thing I was surprised by was Tyson Nam's size. I thought he was a bantamweight coming down. I knew he was a bantamweight coming down, but I didn't think he was going to be that much bigger than Kara France, because I didn't realise how small of a flyweight Kara France actually is. But good performance. He got the job done against a bigger man. Great time to be Kara France. I would like to see him versus Askar Askarov next, or perhaps him versus Alejandro Pantoja. Who knows? Or maybe if Formiga beats Moreno, we can do Kara France versus Hussein Formiga. Who knows? We'll only see in due time what goes on in the flyweight division. But right now, it's good to have Kara France around. He's a big name in New Zealand. The crowd were going crazy for him. The crowd, there was more people in the crowd than they were at UFC 247. Like, on the prelims of UFC 247, the crowd was empty. And on the prelims of this one, the way they've structured it to have big names on the prelims, crowd was full since, like, the gates opened, pretty much, which was crazy to see. But a good show out from Kara France. Gets the job done. Moving on. Tyson Nam should probably call it quits. 30-something years old. 16-11. Bellator or quit, to be honest with you. Moving on. Callum Potter versus Kenan Song. Kenan Song goes out there, dusts up Callum Potter in the first round. So far, I picked Cacuera, I picked Angela Hill, I picked Kara France, I picked Kenan Song. They've all done me well so far. Kenan Song lands a vicious shot in the first round, follows it up with a few more great punches, and then times the last one just to dink on Callum Potter's chin. Listen to me, and I've said this on the live stream and people disliked because of it. People don't like when I say things like this, but Callum Potter is not good. He doesn't have anything other than skill. He doesn't have, and you have to have some things in UFC. You have to either be ridiculously good knockout power. You have to be ridiculously tough. You have to be well above the athlete, like way more athletic than all of your competition. You have to be faster than everyone else. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain attributes that you just have to be built with, you know, that you can't train. And Callum Potter is not athletic. He's not fast. He may be skilled and technical. That's something I can give him. No chin, no knockout power. Like, there's no preconceived attribute that goes with Callum Potter here to help him get the win. Like, there's just nothing. He's just not. He hasn't got any of those advantages pre-learning all of the skills of martial arts. You know what I'm saying? Callum Potter got fucking knocked out in the first round. It was tough to watch, to be honest with you. I feel like he should be out of the UFC. He's 18-9. But if they want to give him one more chance, they can give him one more chance. I wouldn't be mad at that, to be honest with you, because, hey, we're going to Australia in June, and we have no Australian fighters. We need every single one of them that we can get. Let's be real. Callum Potter, maybe keep him around, but Kenan Song, great performance, 16-4. I don't know what I want to see from him next. Maybe he can take on Jake Matthews, who we're about to talk about right now. Moving on. Jake Matthews versus Emil Meek. I thought Matthews was going to win this one quite comfortably. Emil Meek made this a fucking war. Like a real fight. I hope they got some kind of bonus from this, because that was an amazing fight. Jake Matthews was in all sorts of trouble in the first round. Jake Matthews dropped Emil Meek with an uppercut, but Emil Meek was off balance at the time, but it was a good shot. Sent Emil Meek off his feet to the canvas, and Emil Meek survived, kept going, and then came back and rocked Jake Matthews, but Jake Matthews got the takedown, which was weird because, I don't know, they scored. We'll talk about the Riddell fight because the judges seem to have a conflict of interests there, but either way, Jake Matthews got dropped in the second. I don't think they scored it as a technical dropping because he didn't, like, go, you know, he didn't get sent across the fucking canvas, you know what I mean? He just got wobbled and eventually went down. Like, it wasn't like the way he knocked down Emil Meek. So I understand where they're coming from, as to maybe give that round to Jake Matthews. But it was a close fight. Emil Meek's takedown defense somehow is better in the third than it is in the first and second. Even though he's the big muscled laboured guy that is supposed to fade in the later rounds. No idea how that works. But I'll be honest with you guys. I love Emil Meek. I want him to stay in the UFC. Even though he's on a 3-fight losing streak. I'd love to see him get one more chance. Maybe against another man on a 3-fight losing streak. James Vick at 170. Loser goes home. Emil Meek versus James Vick. Make it happen. I'd love to see it. But Emil Meek put on a great performance. Great job. Actually was up on total strikes and significant strikes, but it was the ground control of Jake Matthews that helped edge him out some of those rounds. Great performance from both people. Emil Meek, tough. I hope he doesn't get cut, but he might do, so who knows. I'd love to see him stay on. However, you know, I would understand if they cut him because it is 3 in a row. Even if one of those 3 is to Kamaru Usman, still 3 in a row. Tough matchup for him to take against Jake Matthews, and Jake Matthews get the job done like I predicted. Well done, Jake Matthews. Great performance. Really good performance. Emil Meek's a beast, though. Even still. Like, he wins out of that because it was a great fight and everyone knows that he's really about this shit. So, good job, Emil Meek. Whatever promotion he ends up in, I hope he does well. But if they want to keep him in the UFC, as I said, James Vick versus him would be a great fight. Welterweight, or lightweight, sorry. I almost said welterweight just by looking at Jarlin Turner. Because he's 6'3", of all things, at lightweight. Makes no sense whatsoever. Not impressive performance by Jarlin Turner. I picked Kaliber to win this one. And that doesn't determine my bias here. Because I originally picked Jarlin Turner, I believe, against his original opponent that was on this card before. Kaliber filled in on short notice. Jarlin Turner isn't good. You know, he just isn't a good fighter. He has all the attributes. He's got the range, he's got the build, he's fucking lean as hell and long as hell for the UFC lightweight division. Like, he's supposed to be fucking guys up, but he just isn't, and now he's 9-5. He was 8-5 before this fight. I wasn't impressed by his performance. In my opinion, he should have went out there and smoked Kaliber. Because one thing I didn't really even pay attention to was the fact that Kaliber was taking this fight up a weight class on short notice. Had no idea. I didn't really know. I actually figured that out in the middle of my prediction video, but I didn't want to go back on my word of saying that Kaliber would win. But Jarlin Turner got the job done. Looked about 2 weight classes above him. Still only was able to win after Kaliber blew out his ACL in the second round. So, not impressed by Jarlin Turner. He's terrible. But they're going to keep him around because he's winning fights. Good job. Maybe we can do him versus some other fucking lightweight. I don't know, man. I really don't fucking care what goes on with Jalen Turner. He's terrible. 9-5. Well done. He got a finish over a guy with one leg down a weight class on short notice. Good job. Kevin Aguilar versus Ubira Tukugov. One of the first fights I got wrong on the card. If we're counting the Kalibau one. I guess we're counting the Kalibau wrong. The second fight I got wrong on this card. Tukugov, out of nowhere, has one punch KO power in the first round. Don't know what happened in Aguilar's camp. That shot did not look the most powerful in the world that he originally rocked him with, I'll be honest. Maybe it just caught him behind the ear or something and just messed up his equilibrium, but did not see that one coming whatsoever. Tukugov winged the fucking... It was from the depths. That fucking punch was from the cliff sides of Dagestan, I swear to God. He launched it towards Kevin Aguilar. Good shot. Wasn't the cleanest landing, but it did enough to rock Aguilar, and then it eventually led to the finish. Tough one for Aguilar, 17-3. Maybe had a little bit of a padded record outside the UFC. We're not going to jump to assumptions here, but obviously he's going to get another chance in the division. But Tukugov gets a big win, snaps 2 fights in a row where he hasn't got a win. He lost a split decision against someone, and then he drew to Lerone Murphy at UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi. So, good to see him get a win. Let's see if we can keep that steam going. Main card. Brad Riddell versus Magomed Mustafaev. Interesting. And this is one I want to talk about because Mustafaev, I don't know, to be honest with you, with this fight. I don't know how to score it because I'm not really remembering it too well. But I seem to remember that Mustafaev literally did nothing with the grappling. I mean, he was getting Brad Riddell down, but Riddell would just stand back up. I'd actually be interested to know how many takedowns they scored for Mustafaev. 8. Holy shit. I mean, Brad Riddell was up double the strikes, significant strikes. He had 10 more from 38 to 28. I mean, he knocked down Magomed Mustafaev as well. But the takedowns, 8 of them. What I don't like is the takedowns weren't like... These were John Jones takedowns against Reyes. Like, these aren't real fucking takedowns. Like, fair enough, Riddell's knees touched the floor, or his bum touched the floor, or his hand touched the floor. But those aren't real fucking takedowns. Riddell would just stand back up, and then you just keep the hands locked together and drag him back down, and then you stand back up. One thing that I was surprised by, I didn't think Riddell was that good of a striker. I thought Mustafaev was going to give him some problems on the feet. I picked Riddell to win, but I thought this was going to be a stand-up battle, and I thought that Riddell was going to get the better of it narrowly. But he was on a different level to Mustafaev on the feet, which I never saw coming. Mustafaev is a beast on the feet. Won his last fight by fucking spinning heel kick to the face, whatever the fuck it was. I don't remember, but it was a spinning something. And Riddell gets a jump on him. Blast body kicks, blast leg kicks, 1-2s, perfect down the pipe. Cracks him with a left hook to drop him in the first round. What I feel like won Riddell the fight was the fact that he dropped Mustafaev in that first round. Riddell wins the third round, in my opinion. The second round goes to Magomed Mustafaev. But the first round, it's what do you credit more? Someone holding on to someone for dear life against a cage and eventually, now and again, dragging them somewhere near the canvas, and then the guy gets back up, and then they drag him, and then he gets back up? Or do you rate the knockdown, which almost had Magomed Mustafaev finished in the first round? I feel like you rate the knockdown. I really do. So I feel like you've got to go with Brad Riddell. Listen, if a knockdown is at times enough for a 10-8 round, surely it's enough for a 10-9 if the round's close. I feel like that's a good score. I don't know. Mustafaev, it was close. Could have gone either way. If it went to Mustafaev, I wouldn't be surprised. But it went to Brad Riddell. Good job. Split decision, I understand. Brad Riddell gets a win. Calls out Alexander Hernandez. I don't know if he's earned a Hernandez fight, because Hernandez is ranked and Riddell is now 2-0. Maybe he's earned something like, what other lightweights are on the card? Maybe he wants to take a gimme fight with Jalen Turner and just annihilate Jalen Turner, improve his contract, get paid, probably get a bonus check as well for the knockout because it will be something special, I'm sure. But I don't think he's earned a Hernandez fight. But who knows? Maybe we see an interview of Hernandez saying that he wants the Brad Riddell fight. Who knows? But I just feel like the fight for Hernandez is probably going to be Arman Tsarukyan, and we'll look for another one for Brad Riddell. I feel like he's got some time. You know, he beat Magomed Mustafaev, great win, very close. He should count his blessings that the judges saw it his way, because the judges could equally have seen it in Magomed Mustafaev's way. Who knows? I think he needs to count his blessings, take some time. He's still young in the sport. He hasn't got a lot of wear and tear. He's been going through a lot of these wars recently, so he doesn't want to accumulate too much wear and tear. I'd like to see him take a little step back, fight someone a little bit easier, beat them, and then take that jump towards the rankings. I'm not sure he's earned it quite yet, but it was a good call out either way. Good win by Brad Riddell. Very fucking close. Could have gone either way. You know, good fight. Good win by Brad Riddell. Moving on. Ben Sassoli versus Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. Thought Ben Sassoli was going to win. De Lima just KO'd him. First round, Ben Sassoli literally walked forward into the punches and got KO'd. And that's all that happened. He walked forward into punches and got KO'd. There's not much to really talk about other than that. Moving on. Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Yan Xiaonan. Yan Xiaonan just beat the piss out of her 3 rounds. Karolina Kowalkiewicz doesn't want to be in the cage anymore. She just wants to be told that she's brave by her male training partners. Oh, you're so brave for even getting in there. She's just showing up to look cool and brave. And I'm a woman, but I'm doing this. Look, I'm so brave and powerful. No. You're just getting your ass handed to you every single fight. You're probably going to be the first female fighter with CTE. Calm down, Karolina Shorb Kowalkiewicz. We don't need another one on our hands. Although I'd love to go below her belt. Oh, it was such a good joke. Moving on. Yan Xiaonan beat the piss out of her. Great job by Yan Xiaonan. 12-1. Great record. Tell you, these Chinese women, they're just built different. I swear to God, they're built like real athletes. Like, they're built like athletes. I don't understand. Maybe it's the oppression over there or some shit, but Chinese women have got some fucking... They've got some athletic capabilities that these fucking Polish women don't actually have. You know what I mean? Like, Yan Xiaonan really put a beating on her, and this is a good win in the strawweight division. She's a big strawweight. She pushes the pace. 157 strikes to 51. 93 significant to 38. 5 takedowns to none. Like, it was just a great win from Yan Xiaonan. And I don't know who I want to see her face next. Maybe we can do her versus Angela Hill. Maybe that would make more sense, rather than jumping up Angela Hill to Claudia Gadelha level. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Yan Xiaonan versus Angela Hill. Sounds good to me. Moving on. Jimmy Crute versus Macaulay Oleksiejczuk. Jimmy Crute just... I did a full video on this because it was so underrated. Full video on my channel. Probably going to show up at the end of this one. Underlooked. Like, this was such an underappreciated fight on the card. This was supposed to be a war 50-50. This was supposed to be either way, whoever lands first wins. Jimmy Crute literally came out there. Destroyed him start to finish. Grappled the fuck out of him. Ragdolled him. Scored the world record in the UFC for a fight that lasts 1 round. And he even had, what, a minute left? He had a minute and a half left, and he set the record for the amount of takedowns in a 1-round fight. Of 8. And the previous was 5. And I think that was Khabib. It might not have been Khabib. It might have been someone else. But either way, it probably was Khabib. Let's be real. We've all seen the Trujillo fight. No, but that wasn't a 1-round fight, so I don't know. Jimmy Crute set the record of 8. He's got a new record. Cool. Why is no one talking about him? Because of the main event, which we'll get to in a second. Jimmy Crute annihilated, got the submission. Very good performance. I feel like Jimmy Crute should take on the winner of OSP versus Shamil Gamzatov next. They're fighting at UFC Portland. They should do that fight on the Australia card in June. That would be a nice one. But the main card, the main event. I rewatched it. Stand by my decision. I know a lot of I think that people's point of view is determined by their argument. And the arguments that I'm hearing aren't good for the Paul Felder side of things. No one seems to be arguing that Paul Felder won more rounds. They seem to be... The people defending Paul Felder seem to be the same people that are defending John Jones, but they're just changing certain things. Like, oh, but Paul Felder did more overall. Okay, well, we score a fight by rounds, and 3 of them should have rightfully gone to Hooker. I don't see a lot of people arguing the 5th round to Paul Felder, and I've rewatched the 5th round. That was the main one I rewatched, to be honest. It was that one in the 2nd round. The 2nd round could go either way. I went to Paul Felder. He landed more. He landed some of the bigger shots as well in that round. He was doing good. So I gave the 2nd round to Paul Felder. You know, originally I thought that could go either way. Who knows what the judges are going to give it to. The 5th round was the one up for grabs. And I didn't see what everyone else saw in that 5th round. I saw Hooker throwing back. I saw them going back and forth. Competitive round. Felder was up by 2 strikes before the takedown initiated. They were very even strikes. I don't care if someone's moving backwards. Otherwise, Mayweather would lose every single fight of his career. What's this, oh, but he's moving backwards talk? Stupidity. Only time moving backwards or forwards means anything is if there's nothing else to determine a fight. You got to move down your criteria. Who won in this department? It's even. Who won in this department? It's even. Let's look at cage control. I don't understand the confusion. I understand how people could argue for Paul Felder. I don't mind that. But this robbery talk. Leftists crying racism is the only example I can give. The only analogy. You're discrediting the real robberies of Reyes versus Jones. When it was a clear 3 rounds. When you call out bullshit like this, you coming into this fight with a preconceived notion. First of all, a lot of people turned on Dan Hooker before the fight even began because of his antics at the weigh-ins. People weren't best pleased by his antics at the weigh-ins. People were saying, he's being a bit cringy, talking a lot of shit. I hope Paul Felder fucks him up. That was the mindset from a lot of people. Then people were coming in there in the second round and saying, Felder better finish this. You know how the hometown judges are. You've got this preconceived notion that just because it was a close fight that went to the hometown guy, it was because it was a robbery. If this same fight happened in America, no one would care about the decision. I swear to you. Your only argument is the 5th round. 1 and 3 are Dan Hooker. And if you don't think 1 and 3 are Dan Hooker, you don't know what you're watching. 2 maybe can be Felder's. I'll give it to him. I think Felder could have done enough. I think Felder did enough. I rewatched it. He did enough in the second to win. Especially because Hooker didn't do much from that back position. If he had thrown a couple shots from there, or maybe got another hook in to take the actual back, rather than just having one hook in, I'd think that maybe Hooker could have stole that round back, but he didn't do enough from that position. So I give it to Paul Felder. 4th round, Paul Felder, of course. But here's another thing. Here's another thing when people argue the total strikes of Paul Felder. It doesn't matter because it's within 1 round. Okay? Paul Felder can land way more in round 4 than Felder outpointed him in round 3. It's still 10-9. I don't care what... Listen, you want to talk robbery? Argue how the fight is scored. You know? Don't argue what you think the fight should be scored as, and that's why it's a robbery, because Felder landed more, even though it was within these certain amount of rounds, and the rounds are separated. Each one wins a certain round. I don't care if Paul Felder had a higher strike differential in round 4 than Dan Hooker did in round 3 and 1. Doesn't mean anything if it's still a 10-9 round. It wasn't a 10-8 round in round 4. Hooker never went down. He got cracked a couple times. I think he got rocked once. Another time he kind of got shocked by a punch, but then he came straight back. Showed he was in the fight. The fight was never going to be finished. Let's be real. Hooker was eating some big shots, but the fight was never like, oh my god, this is over. You know? No 10-8 round. It's 10-9. Hooker comes back, wins the 5th. They're even on strikes until Hooker shoots the takedown. That separates them, in my opinion. Argue the 5th round. Because you're coming out there, and Paul Felder fans, which all of you are, have a real good argument. You can argue that he won. You really can. You can argue that Paul Felder won this fight. Don't argue the stupid shit. Argue the 5th round. That's your only hope. Was the takedown enough to secure the 2-strike differential that Paul Felder had over Dan Hooker? That's what you're arguing. Because when the takedown was shot, Felder was up by 2 strikes. I believe it was 20-18. Is the takedown from Dan Hooker worth 2 strikes? I think the takedown is worth 2 strikes. Especially because it wasn't even a John Jones takedown. It was a full takedown. He took him down, slammed him a little bit, got into full guard. There was a scramble. He settled back in half guard. Felder managed to get back up. Hooker was landing some little rabbit shots from on top as well. So he wasn't doing nothing. I'm burping. He wasn't doing nothing in the takedown scenario. He was landing some little shots. A couple of them in full guard, then a couple of them in half guard. Racking up those numbers. Now he's above Felder in strikes. Felder gets back up. Hooker slams knees into his thigh a couple times. Hooker wins, in my opinion. That last 45 seconds from Hooker, where the takedown was scored, the position was scored, the scramble was made, and the position was advanced off of the scramble. Felder gets back up, and Hooker lands multiple shots to the thigh. Maybe 1 or 2, not multiple. I won't go over the top. I think that's enough to close the gap of 2 strikes. Argue the 5th round with me. Go ahead. The fight was close. It wasn't a fucking robbery. Stop being stupid. One thing I do want to bring up is this. Go to UFC News Alerts on Instagram. The judges scored this fight, and I think we should be coming at the judges a little bit more. Stupidity from the judges, to be honest with you. One judge on the left gave it to Paul Felder by giving Paul Felder... No, wait, what round did they give Paul Felder? They gave Paul Felder the 3rd round, and they gave Hooker the 2nd. If you're giving Paul Felder the 3rd round, you don't know what you're watching as a fight. Your only argument is 2, 4, and 5. Judge gave it to Paul Felder in the 3rd round. Like, the judges aren't even on the Felder team side. So I actually feel bad for the guys that are saying that Felder got robbed. I feel really bad for him. Because the judges are kind of fucking you over here. Because that's not even your argument. Like, they're wrong by saying that Dan Hooker won the last... Felder didn't win the last 3 rounds. Like, your argument is maybe 4 and 5, but 3 is Dan Hooker's round all day, every day. So the judge is wrong there. By the way, these aren't even New Zealand judges. And you can see here that they're even betting against Dan Hooker in the rounds that he won. So saying that they're biased is not a factor. The middle judge, in my opinion, is the only one who had it close to being right for Dan Hooker. Round 1 Hooker, round 2 Felder, round 3 Hooker, round 4 Felder, round 5 Hooker, Hooker wins. That's a great scorecard. Then you look at this one on the right. That has the first 3 for Dan Hooker, which I actually can reason with quite well. And then the last 2 to Paul Felder. The first judge really fucked it up though. Who is this guy? Wait, we know his name. Barry Foley. Let's look this guy up. Barry Foley, CEO. Barry Foley is an Irish sportsman. Oh my god! Okay, so it's not biased whatsoever. No, well, the Irish Dragon being ridiculed by the Irish judge. Very interesting. Irish sportsman, he plays hurling with his local club patch. This might not be the same guy, but either way. Irish sportsman, apparently. I'm seeing here. If this is the right... It's probably not the same person, to be honest. So let's just ignore that I even went down this whole fucking rabbit hole. I thought Hooker won 3 rounds to 2. You can argue the 5th round with me if you want. Go ahead. I think that a takedown and ground position and knees to the thigh make up for 2 strikes. My bad. Like and subscribe. Oh my god, 26 minutes. Click that button there. Goodbye.